What's up, Rube? It's Little Big Robots back with a video. Today I wanted to make just kind of a quick, not quick, but just a fired off video to talk about a topic that's come up again and again in my feed. It's been a thing for a few years now, and that's the use of AI, what they're calling AI, in creative media. And just to save you some time, if you're here for Toys and Robots, that's what this is about. I tend to ramble a bit. So let's just call this a podcast. I'll just put a title on it. But if you're here as a pro AI, tech bro type person, just to save you some time, AI is a scourge. It's in 95% of its uses, it's absolutely horrible and anti-human. I think it's hideous stuff. So if you want to skip out because of that, I'm not here to convince people that AI is bad or good or anything. I'm here to use my opinion because this is my channel. I wish more YouTubers would actually not be afraid to put their opinions out there about what they love. But anyway, so I was on Reddit earlier, came across a post I should say on my feed about a musical group I liked who put out teasers for their one of their latest upcoming albums, and people noticed that one of the characters, human, like a human hand, had 6 fingers, and another one had only 4. Wow, this is humanly possible. You could have 6 fingers or 4 fingers. A lot of people do, I'm sure, in the world. Most of us have 5, probably. It was enough to tip them off that the artwork was done by AI. Now, before we really get into it, I think it's important to define AI, because not only is it important to do that just in general, to define the topic we're going to talk about, but also for you in the comments to correct me if I'm wrong, because most of people who watch my dumb videos are a lot smarter than I am. Just like the people who used to read my blog posts and my articles are a lot smarter about video games than I am. So please feel free to correct me in the comments or put your opinion. But what they're calling artificial intelligence is not like Data from Star Trek. Data from Star Trek was built. He's also make-believe. But let's just say he was built and had a machine, artificially created parts in his artificially created body that allowed him to learn. So he grew and he learned by observing, kind of like a child and stuff, and blah, blah, blah. He just could do it at a really fast rate because he was artificial and blah, blah, blah. So we're not talking about that kind of an AI. And interestingly enough, if I remember correctly, in the movie Ex Machina, which I'll link it in there, maybe I'll find the clip or whatever, there's an interesting part where the lead character played by, I can't remember his name, he played Poe Dameron. I can't believe I remember that name. He played Poe Dameron in Star Wars. A really cool actor. It was a really interesting movie. He basically built an android and flew a kid out, like a tech reporter or something, to interview his android to see if it passed the test, the Turing test, to see if it seemed like real life in a way. Watch the movie if you haven't watched it. It's absolutely, especially if you're a robot mechanical thing fan. But there's a cool part where he's explaining how the android's brain works by, if I remember correctly, and watch the clip say something completely different, but by her brain would do kind of what AI does now, which is basically ask Google a whole bunch of questions and put it together. It's a really interesting thing. This was years before quote unquote modern AI has been released. So it was a really cool tech movie. It's still fun. That's why I always say AI has some very, very interesting tech going behind it. Nobody denies that. And AI does have its uses in, let's say, analyzing large chunks of data, finding commonalities in disease, so we can find solutions there. Weather patterns. That's all well and good. That's where AI, I think, will be very handy for the humanity. But the one they're talking about now, the AI we're talking about now in these days, isn't really artificial intelligence. It's not attempting to create a passable human brain that can learn and excuse me, put into an Android and stuff, that, it's nowhere near that, and I don't think will ever be near that for 100 years or whatever, because the complexities of the human brain are we barely understand a lot of it, memory, stuff like that. But what it really is now is an engine, let's just say a program. It's a simple way to put it, that somebody wrote, some dude wrote, some person wrote, that learns by taking in a ton of information and then seeing the patterns in that information and then drawing its conclusions or drawing patterns and using that information to create an answer or a piece of artwork or a piece of music. Or nowadays they even have passable video. In a few years it was able to make really nice passable video. You'll see little mistakes in it still, but it's in 10 years it will not be, 5 years it will not be, you won't be able to tell the difference. It's really sad, really sad. So these engines probably got popularized by ChatGPT, which is essentially you ask it a question or you say something and it answers you. It takes your answer, your question, it uses a quadrillion servers or whatever it uses to analyze it, and it says, I've learned that this question is usually answered this way. Or if you say, hey, summarize global warming for me or something like that, or the stock market, it will within seconds come up with a really passable answer, very interesting answer. Like write me a recipe for making a birdhouse or a cookie, or how do I change the oil in a car? And it's going to actually give you a conversational feeling answer. It is very impressive. At the same time, I used to write about tech quite a bit, and whenever you get into tech, there's got to be a theory. Somebody's come up with this theory before. There's got to be a name for it, but tech is never impressive, because as soon as you see the latest tech, you know that one day that's going to be the oldest tech. So as impressive as ChatGPT and all that stuff is now, it's depressing to think that that's going to be so passe. I mean, when it first came out, you were able to do, right before ChatGPT, I remember the imaging software came out, and you could go in and do it, what they call a prompt. You would say, make me a cat who is on fire jumping through a hoop. And it would process it and come up with these images. When it first came out, it's pretty primitive, and that was 3 years ago, whatever it was. It's, again, crazy how fast it moves. Even myself, I made robot images that I used for my banner and for my profile picture for a while, until I realized how incredibly evil and horrible AI is for humanity. And that was, people kind of got their thrill on it, and then almost immediately people were like, wait, how is it making these images, or how is it saying these things? And what it does is it takes in information from, let's say, articles on medicine, and then it extracts from that a really good answer on that you need for your question. The idea being that that's how we work. We take in all these images and these words and these sounds, and then we create our communications, and we create our lifestyle and everything we do by all the massive amount of information we take in every day of our lives. Bear in mind, what I'm talking about, though, is a human creating something using all the information we take in, and a machine creating something using all the information it takes in. The difference there is one is a human and one is a construct of a human, and it's not even a very advanced construct. Trust me, one day it'll be very, very primitive appearing, which is the scariest part. So I looked into this group I really like. I saw the AI cover art. Nothing against the group necessarily. They're not even in control of that stuff. But the artist came out on Instagram and apologized and said, I use digital art sometimes, and I use AI occasionally to help my art. But it's like, stop. As soon as you're using AI, what the problem is AI is often taught on copyrighted materials, meaning if you say, dear AI bot, write me a story about a monster, it's learning how to write you that story from copyrighted work. So you're essentially getting a story that is taking cues from copyrighted materials. stuff that human beings created. While that is what humans do, when I write a story, an article, or make a video, in my head, I'm thinking of all these different influences, even subconsciously of stuff that people have said about this before. I'm putting together sentences based on that, and then I'm using my voice to put it out there, or I'm writing it on paper. While that is how humans work, that's how humans work. So when you make a machine that imitates a human, and you as an quote-unquote artist, and I'm using quote-unquote very strongly, you as an artist use a machine to create your art or to write your article, you are no longer the creator. You are a tool user. And not, you might as well be saying that the hammer is what built the cabinet that I made. Do you know what I mean? I mean, that's that in humanity, I should say, that's how we do. We used a tool to create something. But you might as well be saying that I created that cabinet without any tools. You used a tool. AI is a tool. But people are mistaking it for a legitimate source of creative material. So it's like saying that the hammer helped design the cabinet or whatever. No, the hammer was just something you used in it, right? But in this case, the hammer is able to actually design the cabinet. It's really, really trippy. That didn't really make sense. Sorry about that. But you know what I'm saying here. People are confusing a tool for their own creative output. The cabinet designer comes up with a design, measures it, and tools are used to shape the materials into that design. What AI users are thinking is it's the same thing. I am the creator. AI is the tool. The product comes out because of me. Well, no, the product came out because the tool did all the thinking and all the creating. So in toys, because this is my department, right now, let's say Bandai, and I grabbed this model kit because this is a standard Bandai kit. It's from 2015. Granddaddy, RX-78-2, the standard Gundam you might be used to seeing when you think of Gundam, right? This is a box of joy. I love model kits because when you have one like this, they can be so expensive. This can be like $13, $15, $10. I've seen them. You can hand this to somebody. Maybe they need a tool. Some of them modern ones, sometimes you don't even need a tool. Entry grade, stuff like that. Some of the 30-minute missions kits, you can just snap apart with your fingers. And you can spend a little time, use your hands, and create, granted a pre-planned, but you can create a robot. And then you can, of course, do your own custom things on it. You could leave off the arms, or you could paint the arms, or whatever. This is a box of potential creation. Like, for a lot of people, this is a creative outlet, right? As far as I can tell, this cover is a painting or drawing or something, probably a digital creation. You can often tell when people are using digital art, which is a whole nother kind of segment of the argument that AI people use, is that digital art is not art because you're not actually physically brushing on the paint stuff. And I agreed to that to a point, but you're still telling the lines where to go. So it is very possible for a company like Bandai, who's a massive company. I think they've sold something like 750 or something million of these kits over the years. So think about that. At $10 to $200 a piece, that's billions of dollars. They could simply sit down at the computer. The CEO himself could sit down at the computer and say, design me a cool Gundam, and a Gundam-inspired robot. And the AI comes back and says, here you go, and it looks really good. He or she or they can then take that 3D design and import it into a computer, make that computer talk to the 3D printer, and make up a prototype within an evening. Easy. I guarantee it. Right now. Then they could take that 3D printed prototype, or let's even just say this, instead of a 3D printed prototype, they could take their basic design, and if they wanted to, I'm not saying they do, this is just a thought experiment, then they could tell their mass production machines to print out model kits. Now, generally what they do is they make a mold and blah, blah, blah. that will all be past. That will all be old school. It will be in the past within 10 years. Everything will just be massive and fast 3D printed stuff. They can print them on the sprues. They can print moving parts. It's insane. That's all well and good. So a CEO could sit down with a basic laptop, not even a fancy laptop, a basic laptop, maybe their phone, and make me a model kit that I could sell 300 million copies of. And within an evening, they could have that. That's not an exaggeration. I could do that right now if I had the money, right? That process, it's not only that I'm worried about it taking away jobs, because some jobs in the world are not safe or not really good for humans, and some need to be replaced. Like, let's say a person putting on a suit so they can go in and work with radioactive material. That's a job you might want to replace with a robot or AI. But creative jobs cannot be seen in the same way as a job that a robot can do. For example, assembling the car over and over again. That's a job that will eventually, wear down your joints and stuff. If you know what I'm saying. So creative jobs are creativity is what makes us human. It's what gave us the ability to evolve into what we are now, which is a relatively advanced species, I guess. I don't know, compared to something, but you know what I mean? We have a lot of crazy technology like AI, like medical technology. That was helped by our ability to imagine a scenario and create a solution with our brains. Even though our brains, yes, work like an AI model, they're our brains. We have to have respect for that. What AI does and what AI could do to toys is do the same thing that the previous tech bro scams have done. NFTs, cryptocurrency. There's others in the past, but those are the great big ones that have happened in recent years. And you see how obscenely scammy those can be. Obscenely. NFTs were probably the most scammy thing I've seen people fall for in a long time. You saw video game companies coming out about it. You saw Bandai themselves try to get on it. You saw K-pop artists, metal bands, country artists, all try to have an NFT connected to their brand. And people pretty quickly called out how ridiculous it was, and those have largely dropped off. There is very interesting technology behind NFTs, behind cryptocurrency, that can be useful. There's an interesting interview with the Proton CEO where he talks about using a blockchain for making sure that emails are secure, for example. That there's interesting uses for all these technologies. Where it's not interesting and useful is in the creative arts or in anything creative, music, poetry, fiction, toys. These are the realms of humanity that we need to hold sacred. Somebody said the other day, I don't remember the quote exactly, but it basically said that the creators of AI and the people who are pushing it like the next hot thing, like they were with NFTs, and are driven by money. It's just a greed thing. Companies now, big companies, massive companies, the biggest ones in the world, are trying to get on it because of greed. Anything that can help them save some money. If you can wipe out your customer service chat or your anything. If you could take a human out of a job and pay a robot or pay an AI chatbot to do it for you, you're saving money, millions and millions of dollars in a large company, right? So it's number one, greed. Number two, AI people on the art side and in the creative art side are not interested in helping people be more creative. They're interested in making a tool that gives the illusion of creativity, so that you as the owner of the tool can say, I'm creative because I own this tool. And again, it's like the cabinet maker saying, I'm the cabinet maker because I have some hammers or whatever. No, you're a cabinet maker because you used your brain and your creativity to create a cabinet and your skills. So it is one of the few topics that really, really, really infuriates me. I don't think people who are experimenting with AI and stuff are evil or need to be chastised or anything. Some of them are, of course. People who use it for deep fakes and stuff, of course. And I do think that there is some interesting use case scenarios for AI, of course, that are going to make our life better. There's probably 5 or 10, big scale data, stuff like that. Stuff we don't want to mess with, like asking it, what's the most common wood used in a birdhouse? It's just a search engine. It's a glorified search engine, but that's cool. That's still very useful. But to think that it's okay to use it to create, to take place of an artist or a writer or designer is one of the most hideous things I've ever come across. I mean, of course, minus crime and stuff. It makes me so angry that somebody would be so willing to throw out their humanity just to kind of come up with the latest tech. But a lot of people who create tech are not necessarily the most creative, if that makes sense. They see the next saying, they sniff some money, and now everybody is claiming to have AI as their everything. VR, look at Meta with VR. Okay, like, it's fun. I have a VR headset. I enjoy it once in a while. It was so ridiculous to watch them spend billions and billions of dollars, like $20 billion on VR, when most people get nauseous when they use a VR headset. It just ignores the basics of humanity to try and make some money. It's so ridiculous, because you think of the amount of money they spent and how much good that could do in the world, just basic good, even just for their own company. So that's my rant about it. Let me know what you think. The sad thing is I've already seen potential toy creators who are using AI. They try to use it as I'm just using it for the costumes, or I'm just using it for the backgrounds. I want to say people claim that Mattel used it for one of the latest Barbies. I don't know. And it's so funny to see them just chip away at their humanity a little bit. I'm just going to use it. I don't want to pay a background artist or concept artist. Just want to use it for that. And soon I just want to use it to help me, design the packaging. I just want to use it and then soon you've got literally one person sitting in an office pressing a button. Of course, that'll be automated too one day. And the machine will do all the creating. It will blah. And it will be so common in toys and other hobbies that you will have to literally fight to find the non-AI created stuff. What I would like to see, and it sounds kind of hyperbolic or whatever, but I believe this is a literal movement of companies or whatever that certify with a badge or a promise, a certificate, that it is AI, literally AI free. I saw a YouTuber the other day, a creative YouTuber, whose paid endorsement, I kid you not, was an AI, just a program. You download it, whatever, and you run, that would take your video and edit it for you. So this person was saying, I don't like editing. Obviously, I don't like editing either. I think it's silly in some cases when you're just doing a personal channel. If you want to do it to be professional, then that's cool. Don't get me wrong. But like, for me, it would be silly for me to do a bunch of editing and stuff. It just doesn't make sense. But this was a creative person, an artist, and their paid sponsor was somebody selling a program that took out a good chunk of the creative process. Is editing boring? So sure, but I don't think this person thought through that what they were doing was helping a company who one day would allow people with the press of a button to create their videos, and they would be out of a job. There's an interesting clip, maybe I'll put it in the description, of CNBC, which is like a financial network, I believe. I watch them occasionally for like tech stuff and stock stuff. Talking about Google's podcast where they have 2 AI hosts, and it sounds obviously AI. You can definitely hear it. They're so obnoxious. And there's a moment where one of the hosts, is kind of jokingly, but gets that their job is what this AI is coming for, and they're just having a good time talking about it. So that's how I feel about it. What I would like to know, if I buy a toy from a company, if that company is using AI in any segment of the process, other than design me a robot to take out the trash, If they're using AI in any segment of their creative process to create the toy, for the artwork on the box, the packaging, I want to know, because I will avoid them like the plague. I will have nothing to do with it. Same with musical artists. Where this could be good, TLDR by the way, where this could be good for the toy marketplace is that it starts to make companies or people, maybe even independent creators, more valuable when they don't use AI, because they will become such a rarity. So you will be looking, someone like me will go, man, I really want a company that uses people to design the robots and to design the covers. And this company will say, we guarantee it. Here's video of us making it, come tour the factory. We use good old-fashioned human creativity to make our creative product. I can go to that company. I would value them above everything else, unless their robots sucked. But anyway, let me know what you all think. I can't believe that this stuff is still going on, that every couple years we have some scammy tech bro bullshit that people, large companies and small, fall for, and we got to have a chunk of that. The stocks go up, and the big companies make billions, and the stocks drop, and people are laid off, and it's just so sad. So anyway, have a good one, everybody. Enjoy your weekend. Talk to you later. Bye.